everyone, it's Ms. Spencer. Today we'll be finding the volume of partially filled rectangular prisms. The objective for today is that students will be able to find the volume of rectangular prisms that are partially filled with unit cubes. We're going to do a quick review of area. Here we see a rectangle with the side dimensions of 8 and 4/10 inches by 12 inches. We know that the formula for area is length times width, so we're going to multiply 8 and 4/10 times 12. The first thing we want to do when multiplying by decimals is rewrite each of our factors in unit form. 8 and 4/10 can be rewritten as 84/10. 12 can be written as 12 ones because the 2 is in the ones place. Now we can go ahead and multiply the whole numbers. 2 ones times 4 ones is 8 ones. 2 ones times 8 tenths is 16 tenths. Now we're going to multiply 84 by the 1 in the tens place. Because the 1 is in the tens place, we're going to put a 0 in the ones place at the bottom. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 8 is 8. Now we can add our products together. 8 plus 0 is 8, 6 plus 4 is 10, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 8 is 10. Now we're going to multiply the units. Tenths times ones is tenths. So our answer is 1,008 tenths, which can be rewritten as 108 tenths. Now let's review some vocabulary. Here we have a unit cube. We can use unit cubes to measure the amount of space in a rectangular prism. A unit cube has length, width, and height. We can use these to fill a rectangular prism to find its volume. The rectangular prism also has length, width, and height. A rectangular prism is a three-dimensional or 3D shape, which means it takes up space. Notice that the side lengths are rectangles, so that's why it's called a rectangular prism. Here we have a rectangular prism partially filled with unit cubes. This is what we'll be focusing on today. Volume is the amount of space it takes to fill an object, so we use unit cubes and count how many we use to figure out how much space is filled. Here we have a rectangular prism that's filled with unit cubes at the bottom. We see that there's 9 unit cubes at the bottom or the base of our rectangular prism. We can use layers to help us figure out the volume. When we figure out the base, such as 9 unit cubes, we can multiply that by the total number of layers to find the total volume. Here we have a cube. Notice all the side measurements are all 10 centimeters. When the length, width, and height are all the same measurement, such as 10 centimeters, we know that's a cube. Remember, length and width can be interchangeable, which means that in the formula of length, width, and height, you can list the length or change it with the width, depending on how the rectangle or the rectangular prism is shown. So we can find the volume even if their entire rectangular prism is not completely filled with unit cubes. We can see the rectangular prism to the left here is actually filled with unit cubes, but we can use the length, width, and height in order to find the volume. Here we can see the length is 3 units. 1, 2, 3. The width is 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the height is 2 units. 1, 2. This also means there's 2 layers. The bottom layer is completely filled with unit cubes. The top layer is only partially filled with unit cubes. But we can multiply length, width times height in order to find the volume. So here we can replace the length, the width, and the height words with the actual dimensions. 3 units times 4 units times 2 units. We're going to start by finding the bottom layer or the base. 3 units times 4 units is 12 units squared. Now we can multiply this bottom layer or base, which is 12 units, by the total number of layers or the height, 2 units. 12 units squared times 2 units is 24 cubic units. So our volume is 24 cubic units. Let's try another. Here this rectangular prism is partially filled, but we can find the length, width, and height to help us find the volume. The length is 3 units. 1, 2, 3. The width is 5 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the height is 3 units. We can look back here and see there's 2 units above the first layer or the bottom base, but we know that there's also a unit cube on the bottom to complete the bottom layer. So there's a total of 3 unit cubes, even though we can't see all 3. So we're going to use length times width times height to help us find the volume. The length is 3 units, the width is 5 units, and the height is 3 units. We're going to start by finding the base by multiplying the length times the width. So 3 units times 5 units is 15 units squared. This is the bottom layer. There's 15 unit cubes on the bottom. Now we're going to multiply 15 units squared times 3 units because the height is 3 units. We know that because there's 3 layers. The bottom layer that's completely filled, the second layer or middle layer, and this top layer. 15 units squared times 3 units is 45 cubic units. The volume is 45 cubic units. Let's try this next one. Here, the length is 3 units, 1, 2, 3. The width is 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the height is 4 units. We can see these top 3 units or top 3 layers, and then we know there's another unit cube at the bottom to complete the bottom base. So we're going to use length times width times height to find our volume. Here we have 3 units times 4 units to find the total number of units used on the bottom base. 3 units times 4 units is 12 units squared. Now we're going to multiply the base, which is 12 units squared, times the total number of layers, or the height, which is 4 units. 12 units squared times 4 units is 48 cubic units. So the volume is 48 cubic units. Finally, here's another rectangular prism. The length is 3 units, 1, 2, 3. The width is 7 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The height is 3 units, 1, 2, 3. We can multiply length times width times height to find the volume. The length is 3 units, the width is 7 units, and the height is 3 units. We're going to start by finding the base, which is length times width. 3 units times 7 units is 21 units squared, which means there's 21 cubic units on the bottom or on the base. Now, 21 units squared times 3 units is 63 cubic units. So in the entire rectangular prism, we would need 63 units to fill the entire rectangular prism. So the volume is 63 cubic units.